Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining us. As promised, we are bringing you a post-event wrap-up of our Combat Night Fort Lauderdale event. I am Ramsey White, and joining us to have this conversation to kick things off is going to be CEO Mitchell Chamali. What's up, homie?
What's up, man?
And my fellow partner in crime on the commentary side of things, MMA coach Ben.
What's going
What's
on,
up,
everyone?
guys? All right, so man, did we have a bangarang of an event last night in Fort Lauderdale? uh, a bunch of finishes, several decisions. I dropped my pen. Several decisions, and even the decisions were all just like slugfest. So plenty for us to talk about, and I think we could kick things off by talking about what I thought was the little CEO, Caden. What's up, man?
Raymond said,
What's
"What's
going on,
up?"
dude?
Wait,
What I thought was the main event. What I thought was the fight of the night was our co-main event, title fight between Richard Reich and Avery Muschler. I'll just toss that out there to you guys. Go ahead, Ben. What did you think of that fight?
Dude, holy crap. Those not known for throwing hammers, and they were both throwing hammers. Reese got knocked down twice, once flat on his ass. I thought it was over, and he somehow like relit that match, and then again knocked back like a movie into the fence. You know, Muschler was pressing forward, ended up closing off the gap a little more than I think he really wanted to. But not to be understated, Reich was touching his jaw a lot as well. He wore the shots better, but he still got kind of weak knees a few times in there. That fight was absolutely bonkers. No one has been able to get up from under Muschler until yesterday. And Reich did it like almost easily, pretty much every time. It was absolutely nuts, start to finish, 9 minutes of insanity.
yeah, I agree. It was a crazy fight, amazing fight. They're both high-level wrestlers. Reese has a Cuban background, Avery All-American wrestler in college. I mean, I can't, as amazing of a fight as it was, I kind of got a knock on it too because I just don't think as amateurs you should be standing in the pocket like that and thugging it out. I mean, don't get me wrong, like it was amazing for the fans. I loved watching it. I'm I'll be the first one to say I thought it was fight of the night, amazing. But I think I I do believe I disagree with Ben just a little bit on the getting up easily. I was in the first round. Avery had his back for like a minute, and he had a nice body triangle on. He ended up taking the triangle out for some reason, and Reach got him off, like kind of shucked him off pretty easily. Um, I thought that should have been the plan. I mean, for me, it's like again, I'm not saying I don't like watching fights like that, but God, those guys both took a lot of big shots, a lot of big hits, and they're still in their amateur career. Like it's good to know, like okay, we got that in the pocket if we got to use it. I just don't know if they both needed to use it last night. I guess if that makes sense.
It could have been a much more technical fight, but it was still fun as hell
Yeah,
to watch.
yeah, it was amazing fun to watch. Thank God. In the first round, Avery got caught a couple times with his hands kind of down. I thought that was going to be a big issue for him going into later rounds, but man, he was able to keep his hands up and he caught some really big hooks, with high blocks. That I think if he hadn't had his hands up, would have probably dropped anybody. But yeah, they were slinging it. That fight was amazing for me. I hate that neither one of those guys got paid. If they don't have it on their pro record, like that fight deserves that kind of love.
Yeah, I thought that I just have in my notes I was taking during the fight just like slugfest, and it was just underlined over and over
There
because
weren't many jabs, let's say
just
that.
No,
those
There wasn't a
guys were
lot of
just
footwork.
throwing down.
a lot of loading the shots too. Like, I'm not like they're amateurs and it was an amazing fight, but I felt like they were, from the weigh-ins. If you guys saw the weigh-ins, there was a lot of like, I guess they trained together before, and there was a lot of tell emotion going into that fight. And like I said, I think they fought with that emotion instead of thinking of the fight IQ and the technical aspect of it. But again, I mean, as a fight fan, I love it. Amazing. As a coach, I'd probably be like, "Yo, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?"
Hmm. It was definitely the kind of fight that'll take, years off your career, or at least months. I would hope both of those guys are taking at least the next 4-ish weeks to just kind of
Yes,
rest the body.
that was a crazy fight. Yes.
And for as action packed as that fight was, and how it kind of set the table as being the co-main event, the main event was still pretty fire too, and really brought the heat. Johan Bedell versus Eric Lopez. Man, Johan Bedell can take a licking but keeps on ticking, and
Yeah.
Eric Lopez was, as we move on to talk about the 155 title bout between Eric Lopez and Johan Bedell. Eric Lopez was doing something that Ben pointed out during the commentary that a lot of Johan's previous opponents didn't do. He's shown that he's got an iron chin, but Eric Lopez started going to the body over and
Yeah.
over and over. And since Johan's a cardio machine, this impacted him in a slightly different way. And even though we've seen him take some wear and tear and damage and stuff in his previous fights, in this one specifically, it just looked different because of the way Eric Lopez was attacking the body, and had him on the ropes a couple of times. But like I said, Vidal just keeps on ticking.
Oh yeah. He gets stronger as the fight goes too.
Man, I start to, in a way, I'd worry about his well-being overall, to have all of your fights be like that kind of Cinderella story where you're getting beat down and then come back and overcome. In the second round, it looked like Lopez had his number. He had very little success, if any, with his takedowns. Lopez sprawled him out, dropped his
Yep.
levels, shook him off, and was tagging him in the body, digging in jabs, dropping twos right into it, and he was showing where. Um, I was talking with Ramsey in between rounds. Budell's standing, he's wobbling, he's falling into the cage. He didn't have balance. He looked exhausted. And then for him to come out in the third and just get right to it, change it up from what he was playing in the second and the first, and just get on top and get to work was extremely impressive. Like, I didn't know he had that in him anymore because he looked like he was wavering.
Yeah. Man, I almost feel bad for Eric. It's like he made one little mistake. I forget what ended up being like the final takedown that happened to him, but he shot on Johan a couple times, which I thought were kind of like foolish in a way because he did have him on the feet pretty handily. I thought Johan was doing a good job at frustrating and interrupting his timing. That teep was very successful for Johan, um, and I just kind of wish that he would have Eric would have addressed the teep more instead of kind of taking it and then trying to fire back. But I don't know if it was Johan having great timing with the teep, or if it was Eric just trying to like push through the teep and trying to push through him to hit him. But yeah, it was a great fight, a great back and forth fight. I wish it kind of went to the scorecards, just like selfishly, I wanted to see how the judges were scoring it. Um, but yeah, it was a great back and forth war. I think Johan was going to get the nod by his performance in the third round, anyways. I think that was going his way, but it was definitely an amazing fight. There's Johan with the kicks. He was doing a really good job at using his range and really throwing those teeps out there and throwing the kicks out there. But yeah, like the body shots from Eric were nasty.
Man, what does Lopez normally fight at? Because I
He's a
know
40.
Johan is like a smaller 55er, but he looked massive.
Yeah, Eric's a 45er. So, and he took this fight on. He stepped up on short notice and agreed to fight Johan. So, I'm excited to see Eric back at 45 because I felt like there was a pretty big size difference in there the night of.
Yeah. I was surprised how well he did in the second. His takedown defense came out of nowhere, and he was just so successful
Yeah,
with stuffing Budell in that second round.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna jump my Miles is joining us to jump him in the conversation.
and knowing what his team's goal was in that fight, his team's goal was to to stuff takedowns, to work on the wrestling. So they were. I think that's kind of why they were okay with going up in weight because they wanted to see how his takedown defense was going to be. And to his credit, for the most part, he did. And he defended a lot of takedowns, and was still able to get his strikes off and still able to look good in the process.
This was the beginning of the end here, where he had that back arm trapped, and Vidal was just starting to rain down strikes, and Lopez couldn't defend himself. Uh, well, but he was still in there trying to free himself, but the
Size.
succession of strikes and that's that size.
Man, a Dagestani handcuff is you are inches from a TKO. Like those are so hard to escape and so debilitating. Man, Budell used it beautifully.
And there at the end, he was
What
able to.
happened to you, dude?
He was willing to take those shots to the face to try and push down on the hips and try and escape. You saw he just like closed his eyes and bit down and was trying to push down on the hips of Budell and just couldn't get away. Budell was just in there.
He did a really good job of intelligently defending himself in that dangerous situation. So even though Budell was successfully making contact, the referee wasn't jumping in so early because though Lopez was taking damage, he was doing the right things or the things needed to improve that position. It wasn't until he was kind of stuck and just out of luck that the ref jumped in to, basically save him.
Yeah, Troy gave him a lot of opportunities. Troy definitely great job officiating on that one.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think that's why I like it that Troy is a ref, because him being a active fighter, coaching those young guys over there at MMA Science Academy, like sometimes you see referees in there and it could be an early stoppage or something like that. But I think when you have someone who's an active fighter, man, they understand, try to give them the benefit of that, but then also to protect the safety of the fighter there. And then even as he stopped it, it was because his corner was like, hey, you know what, like just stop it. I saw in the corner they were telling him, because they saw that Troy was giving him every opportunity was to continue on fighting. And then I was like, are they gonna stop it? Then you can see the corner just like
I think Miles, honestly, I think the corner was yelling, "Don't stop it! Don't stop it! Don't stop it!"
Oh, they were saying, "Don't stop it." Oh, I thought they were saying, "Oh, please stop it!" Like,
nah, the guy that was standing behind the guy sitting down. There was like a taller guy. He was waving his hand. He was yelling. He was screaming, "Don't stop it! Don't stop it! Don't stop! He's good! He's good! He's good!"
I was like, "Hey, man, he's taking a lot of damage."
Yeah.
All right, guys. I wanted to bring up. We had quite a few finishes on the evening, so I wanted to bring up some of those, and we can just kind of. Let me see what the number. Just go kind of numerically. Jordan Martinez versus Victor Alvarez Jr. That was a hellacious knockout.
Whew, that was a rough one.
Man, those knees clicked and he was liquefied for just a moment. That was bad.
I've got that one. Let's have another look at it. He just came out so calculated and calm.
I mean, his opponent wasn't doing himself any favors with his chin so high and reaching out.
And he's just a massive dude.
He really is.
Yeah, and I also think too, when you do go back and forth between MMA and kickboxing, if you can withstand punches in MMA, it kind of like makes, I don't want to say kickboxing easier, but it makes it more relaxing stepping in there with big gloves on versus the MMA gloves. It's like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, I agree.
That overhand. Yeah, I know this fight was that's the beginning of the end. This fight wasn't very long.
Those shots
if you finish somebody with just in kickboxing the first round, he punches hard. Like, I can't wait to see him again in an MMA fight.
I mean, in his MMA fight, he dropped his opponent in the first round. Like the first punch he threw.
Yeah.
And then his opponent just had good wrestling and was able to like get him down and turn it into a wrestling match. But yeah, he's got some dynamite in his hands, and it's so fun to talk to him. He's like the nicest, gentlest.
Yeah.
You just don't expect him to be such a savage. He's like a anime geek. He was like messaging me today, like videos of what people were talking about in the video of his weigh-in, and then he was telling me for his next weigh-in what anime character he's gonna come as. Like, just not a guy you would expect to be throwing hands like that.
In his interview, he said he wanted to focus on MMA, So, Miles, there really is a very good chance that next time you see him, he'll be in those small gloves.
Yeah, he said he likes MMA better. It's just a matter of, hey, whatever. He's a fight. He's like, hey, I would like to do MMA, but if you toss me a kickboxing match, like, I'll take it too.
See, that's the attitude I wish every fighter had. It is so frustrating to see these guys who like, okay, you want to fight, you've been training for, maybe you didn't fight for 6 months now. You want to fight on November, 5th. Let's just throw imaginary date out there. And it's like, all right, we can't find anybody that wants to do MMA with you, but we have a guy who wants to do kickboxing. Like, no, I just want to do MMA. I'm like, what? I get it if you're a kickboxer and you don't want to do MMA, but if you're an MMA fighter, you should be taking every opportunity,
Every fight.
every grappling match, kickboxing fights, Muay Thai fights, whatever gets you in that cage. Where I see the biggest problem is like hard to find people. So like women they're hard to find fights for. 85, 205, heavyweight, all hard to find fights. So if you're one of those divisions, you should just be taking whatever comes your way in terms of like the opportunity. Like maybe it is a tougher opponent than you want to fight. Maybe they have more experience. I understand saying no to those. But if it's equal experience and you're wanting to be one of the top athletes in the world one day, as long as you're healthy, you should be fighting. You should be fighting in whatever form that is. Kickboxing, Muay Thai, grappling. Stay active because I've watched guys, and I've said this before, but I've watched guys take their time, pick a fight there, pick a fight here, one fight. And then before you know it, they're 32 years old and they're making their pro debut. And it's like, when you're healthy, you get an ACL injury, you might be out for 18 months. So while you're healthy, if this is really what you want to do,
take as much as you can.
I love that attitude from Victor.
All right, another finish I was going to bring up was Malik Nottage versus Alejandro Fernandez.
I'm obviously biased, but what did you guys think of this one?
Yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite fights. He just showed definitely tremendous. He was like, once he can stop Malik's takedown, then the rest is
crazy kick.
There.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I missed this whole fight. Sorry, Ben.
You were doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I missed. So I'm excited to see this finish right now.
It took us a minute in the back to figure out like what opened it up. When Alejandro pushed off of his belly for the stand up, he like heel stomped him in the liver. So when he got up, he was already grabbing his belly. I've never seen it work like it was unintentional, just really effective.
Yeah, when everybody wants to, knockouts and headhunt, like Alejandro definitely did a good job of beating up the body.
Yeah, the story of this fight definitely was the body shots.
Yeah. I was so
Body
happy
shots
with his footwork.
to stop the takedowns.
I spent so much time with these guys on circling, and he did it so well.
Malik is a tough dude. Like he's 1-1 going into this fight. His only loss was to Daniel Ortega Garcia, who's undefeated, and it was a 3-round war. So whenever I heard Alejandro finish Malik, just hearing that alone was impressive. So I'm excited to see how the finish actually played out, because I know Malik is he's a tough cookie.
Man, all that stuff Alejandro was talking about in his questionnaire about like being a Jedi and stuff, dude, he has the Padawan haircut, and no joke, he lives that style, man. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but he's a very ideal guy to have in your room. He's on time, he works hard, he does what he's told, he doesn't question anything. As a coach, you tell him what to do, he does it. It's great.
Great get up. Great look too. That look, like, yeah, you thought you could hold me down.
There he goes, just starts ripping those shots to the body.
Yeah, the body shots really hurt him. I saw a lot of good body work last night. I was so impressed with just everybody working the body. Like, there was a lot of fighters that were going to the body, and it's like 3 years ago, we didn't see that. We did not see that. It was not happening.
They're starting to find and understand the value of a good body shot.
Yeah, it's dope to see.
It was the one thing in my career that I really, really wanted was like a liver shot knockout. And though I got one, I was just the victim of it as opposed to the person delivering it. And it's really not how I wanted it.
Another finish I wanted to talk about and show was Matt Heilman versus Manny Saunier.
God, man, what beautiful grappling! I'm gonna start from the very beginning of this video. I want to try to understand what Manny was doing to start the fight because he knew Hellman was a grappler, but it looked like he ran him through a kick, and it's like,
Yeah, he
dude,
rushed right into it.
He
you
just
don't do that against
sprinted.
grapplers.
Yeah,
Use your
he almost
jab.
just changed his level.
Yeah, it was a very easy takedown, and then once he got on the ground, we really saw how good Matt's grappling and control, and he was very smart. Right there, he took the position over trying to strike. Through the underhook, went high with it, kept his head above Manny's. Corner's telling him to flatten him out, so he was going to strike, and he's like, no, let me flatten him out first. And this is a big win for Matt, because Manny's no slouch either. Manny was 2-1 going into this. And hard to finish. I don't think Manny's ever been finished.
No, Manny's big, he's strong, and he's very solid in his base. I haven't seen him do anything that's like mind-blowingly athletic, but man, when he throws, it hurts. When he gets on top, he's hard to move. He's consistent with his ground and pound and his pressure. Like, that was a super impressive way to finish, and then so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I want to keep talking about Manny just because I've seen all his fights. He fought for us for all his fights. I don't know that about Matt. Matt was like a newcomer to us, but like Manny, Manny was his last fight was against a really a good wrestler, and he demolished him. So it was really interesting to see the game plan he came out with for this one versus the last fight because both guys were like decent grapplers. There's a couple fights last night that, while of course get the finish while it's available, but I really wanted to see them play out a little longer. I really wanted to see more.
I expected that fight to be like honestly pretty awesome. So to see it go down so quick, was crazy. I had a question during the pay-per-view because I noticed that he didn't finish him with a rear naked. He finished him with the chin rear naked. And I know in grappling tournaments on an amateur level, those are not allowed. I don't know if that's the case in MMA, but I know those things are absolutely terrible to be caught in.
Well, here's the thing: they're allowed, and it falls. I'm pretty sure it falls under the same line as like spiking, right? Like if I put someone in an armbar and they pick me up, it's my decision to hold on, and if I hold on and get spiked, it's my fault for holding on. Your chin is not an effective way to defend a rear naked choke. That's not a proper technique. So if you choose to put your chin in the way, and that's how you want to defend the rear naked, that's on you. But yeah, it's I know that the chin is legal.
All right, and then another fantastic finish and performance, well worth a mention, was Nomi Aurelano over Annabelle Rose.
Another fight I wish I could have seen play out more.
Yeah, that would just happen so quick. I thought it was gonna go a little bit more the distance.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was fabulous. That was such an awesome performance.
No, it wasn't.
And the surprise.
Indeed. It was. It was cool to see that Nomi has a ground game. We didn't know that until this fight.
Man, Annabelle initiates the takedown.
Dude, I was sold too. I was like, if this girl gets the takedown, Nomi's gonna have trouble. And
yeah, exactly.
She proved me wrong in a big way. She looked fantastic on bottom.
She was controlling her well here.
Good strikes, getting her head to the cage, being smart here.
Stacked her. All that looked real bad for Nomi, and then you start seeing those hips turn. And that was lightning quick.
It's so hard to catch a submission on the fence like that.
It's so hard. It's a hard submission. And, a little backstory on this. Nomi and Annabelle had fought before in the past. Annabelle beat her in a kickboxing fight. This is from a anime. I guess Nomi was saying that her team was saying that Nomi was going to be easy work. I don't know that Annabelle said that because Annabelle was always really respectful. And Annabelle asked for the fight. Nomi beat her teammate in her first fight. And Annabelle asked for the fight. She's really easy to work with. I loved working with Annabelle. She was great. I didn't hear the corners say anything during the fight. Like I listened to corners saying stuff. Um, and I know that some teams have before said shit like that, like, oh, you suck or easy work or you're going to kill her. But I didn't hear that. But, they fought before in the past and the South Florida MMA scene, I'm not as in tune with that, but I know that was the reason for the antics after the fight. And I just wish I could have seen more of that. I'm not, again, like, I'm happy, for the fighter for getting the technique and doing what she did. But, man, could it have happened in the third round? Could I just see more?
Yeah, so moving forward on her specifically, um, it's such a definitive win and such a definitive way to get a win so quickly, like with a submission, in the first like minute and a half or so.
Mm.
Does that still leave like question marks on her ground game, where the other gal just like overplayed it, or did that just look like, oh no, she's got a bag?
No, she definitely knew what she was doing. It was no
Yeah.
luck with that. The way she was just composed and threw up
those cage side
that submission
submissions
there, like.
Yeah. The problem was like the way Annabelle let her get sideways to the cage. Like if your head's on the cage, you're pretty much dead in the water, like Ben said. You're in bad shape. But the fact that Nomi was able to create the angle and get sideways with the cage, now the top person's in big trouble. Like it changes very quickly when you're on the cage. Who has the advantage and who doesn't. But no, she Nomi very obviously knew exactly what she was doing, technically speaking, and her ground game is it's good.
Yeah, she's definitely even only after two MMA fights, she's definitely positioned herself for. I don't know if there's going to be eventually a women's strawweight title. I would like to see her against let's see her durability and let's see if she can prove herself.
Say it, Miles. Say it.
Through a veteran. Wait. First is what I'm saying. Let's see if she can prove herself. Through a veteran, Sierra Krieger, and then Jackman from the Jungle MMA and Fitness. I would like.
Okay, if that's what you want to see, who did Colhane prove herself against?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like a mini tournament. I was watching in my head. I want to see each of these ladies get to 3-0 and then fight for a belt. I don't know.
Here's this. Sierra is a 105er.
Mm-hmm.
That's her actual weight class, is 105. She came up to 115. Annabelle was 2-0 in kickboxing, and she was 0-2 in MMA going into this fight. So
I mean, I'm all for Christian and Nomi. I didn't know.
I think we should run it for a title.
You need to have a certain amount of fights first before you fight for the title. Before you fight for the title, but hey, let them fight now. I didn't know if they have to like have a certain amount of fights first.
The winner will be for a belt. Yeah, the winner will be 3-0. After that, the winner will be 3-0. Now here's the real problem with this fight. I'm gonna tell you, and I'll say it live so that there's no punches being pulled. Both of those teams hate traveling. Both of those teams hate traveling.
No, I know. Yeah, and if it's not in Orlando, now the pros will travel, but amateurs no.
Yes. So trying to get that fight to happen.
If we're talking Orlando and West Palm, the answer is Fort Pierce, baby. About 90 minutes, right there.
Yeah. Then we got to get both teams to travel. Like.
Yeah, but 90 minutes isn't travel.
I agree. And I think it's important for amateurs to get the experience of traveling and going on the road and finding out I don't get to sleep in my bed. I don't have my kitchen. I don't have my hometown support. I think it's very valuable for amateurs to get that experience. I think it's one of the top reasons to fight for Combat Night. I think is that if I were to give you 3 reasons why you should fight for us, for a fighter, like being selfish, why choose Combat Night? One of them is you get to travel and fight outside of your hometown all the time. But I would love Miles. Trust me, man. That is a fight I want to see.
And like you said about traveling, like as an amateur, Ben, you were there when we went to Virginia. As an amateur fight, I fought, the number one guy in Virginia had to deal with, cutting weight on a plane. Like, all right, checking my weight. Like, oh, I see Cinnabon in the airport. I can't eat that because once we get off this plane, I got to go, cut weight. And I was able to experience that as an amateur. So I think that's one thing that I don't think enough amateurs, realize that might be a hurdle or an obstacle. When I turn pro, oh man, all my fights are not going to be in Florida. I may have to travel to, a Kansas, a Virginia, a California. And oh shit, this is the first time I'm trying to like look up on my phone, Asana, look up on my phone, okay, where do I go to and stuff like that. I think it might be easier to get, a South Florida person to come to an Orlando, maybe a pro-am card, say for instance at the Silver Spurs Arena, as we, have some of those Orlando shows there, rather than trying to get any, Central Florida person to go down to Broward. I think the big draw is, have that ladies fight, maybe have that for a title fight headline the undercard amateur portion of an Orlando Pro-Am card.
I will definitely be working on this fight happening early 2025. You have my word. It's as soon as I saw that finish, that was exactly what I was thinking about. I want to see that fight happen. Really, really.
Yeah,
bad.
I definitely will. I do a whole full. We can do it. Do an embedded or like a combat night countdown with the whole Ramsey White family production. I'll host it and produce it, direct it, the whole nine, whatever. Like,
yeah, that's a good fight. It's a good fight. That's a really good fight.
Another fight. I was thinking about trying to match up different Orlando people with South Florida people. I would like to see Ben's guy Dro versus Keith 500 Forbes. What about that fight?
Ooh, that's a fancy fight.
I was thinking about that.
That's a good fight.
But Forbes is a 45er, no?
Yeah.
And what was that? What was the Alejandro fight? That was at 55?
55?
Oh.
He is a light 55, but he's never fought beneath it.
Man, his frame, just being real, Alejandro's frame, he looks like he's how old is he?
Like 23, 22?
Yeah, I was going to say he looks like he's going to fill out more and fill out that 55 frame.
I never saw him with a shirt off until weigh-ins, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize he was that shredded.
Yeah.
All right, so there's also an elephant in the room in terms of a combat night first from last night.
Bro, was this not the craziest shit you've ever seen?
This poor kid. Look at his face. Look at his face right whenever he does it. Right.
What?
I mean, when somebody puts something in your mouth, I guess you just bite down. I don't know. It's like it just landed in his.
That?
When somebody puts something in your mouth, you just bite down like this. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know about people putting stuff in my mouth. And when I do, I imagine if someone put something in my mouth, I would probably bite down in defense. But I'll leave that to the expert.
So wild.
He was winning.
He was.
Like,
yeah, he was.
Handedly.
Here's the other thing someone pointed out to me. His corner didn't look surprised or like they were just like, yeah, I guess, okay, cool. Like they were so chill about it. Like, do we know anything about this kid?
Well, I've talked to both pretty extensively after the fight and during the fight. The kid was pretty embarrassed and pretty like he apologized to me like 10 times throughout the night. His coach came up to me and was like, "Hey," he's like, "honestly, like, we don't even know how to take this. It's just a shocker to us. We've never seen this before, much less it be our guy." He's like, if it happened to our guy, we'd be really upset. So it's like whatever we get is what we get. I get it. But I'm gonna be real with y'all. I want the kid to come back. I don't like. It doesn't bother me at all that he bit. Yes, it does bother me that he bit him. But as far as like not giving him another opportunity or like not having him fight with us again, like, yo, if it happens again, obviously we got a problem. Someone's parents didn't teach him about biting in preschool. But God, he looks so good. I hate that he did that to himself. He looks so good.
Like, does he need to go through an anger management course?
He just turned 18, like a week ago.
Oh my God. Like, was he like a crazy kid who just fought everyone in his neighborhood? Was he like that kid? Like the guys who like, I see red and things happen.
I mean, bro, I'm gonna be. It's so funny too. Like at some point the other night, he came up to me and said, "Hey, man," he goes, "Well," how did he say it? He goes, "I wanted to go viral tonight, but not like this." Like,
dude, if that shit doesn't hit the millions, I would be shocked. Knock on wood.
It'll hit the millions. It'll get reposted 3 other ways, and they'll hit millions too. Halloween's around the corner. We'll find a way to turn that guy into a zombie,
a vampire.
Yeah,
man. Like I've been watching fights for like 27 years. I I've definitely seen 50,000 fights, easy, and I've only seen bites 3 times.
Same.
Gilbert Ivel, Heath Sims, and this.
Well, you forgot Mike Tyson.
Oh yeah, I'm in MMA, but yeah.
There was a guillotine. It was Alexis Vila has also bit somebody before.
Dude, I'm not even going to talk about Alexis Villa because it's a very dangerous thing to do. So you just
You're not lying. There's also a UFC fight where a flyweight also got bit.
Really?
He bit his side, like his love handle.
Oh, that was recent. That was the Mexican guy, right?
Yep.
I didn't see that one.
Who's the guy that got the tattoo?
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dude, how do you not get kicked off your team for that's wild.
When you're at that level, I understand. Okay, I know people are like, there's no fucking excuse. But for me, like, this kid's 17, 18. He just turned 18. He ain't never fought like this in front of his friends and family. Man, I just got to believe it was like a fight or flight type thing. And like Miles said,
it has to be, yeah.
It's just his arm ended up in his mouth and he just bit down. And the
look on his face. Not like
bro.
he like went purposely like.
Yeah. No,
like
dude,
it just
when
in a flurry and it just got in you.
Like, it looked like he
pull that replay up. Dude, he looks like a velociraptor. He went like,
yeah, he did like
the
put some bite into it.
He tilted his head back,
dude.
Like that type of bite. Hold on, I'll pull it back up.
But as soon as it was done, he knew. He was like, "Fuck, what did I do?"
Bro,
yeah, I think he just probably just like blanked out for a second.
That post-fight clarity got him.
Dude, look at his head.
He turns into it.
Oh my god.
That's so wild.
Oh my
bro,
god.
he just bit me.
Yo,
that's insane.
Yo, I'm not even gonna lie. I was sitting on the side and I was like, Chris, don't stop the fight. Don't do that to this kid.
Yeah, just take a point away.
Yeah,
no,
thinking he just like
take a point.
Thinking what Miles said, like it just ended up in his mouth. There's probably like a little red mark or some shit, nothing crazy. And then when I saw a teeth mark, I was like,
yo,
I can't even fight for you, man.
I can't help you.
Tell me someone took a picture of the teeth marks.
Oh yeah, it's pictures, videos. This is not gonna die anytime soon.
Thank you, Kevin. I wanted to talk about that too.
You said, what about the dude that had shoes on at the Mets at weigh-ins? He wanted to know how that fight played out. See, I got that round, that finish.
Yeah, to me, that's just like a universal, like, just like disrespect thing. At first, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, maybe just accidentally, they call your name, you take your shirt off, all right, let me run out there, shake hands, like, yeah. But then
whenever you hear shoes on, you take them off. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, exactly. But he just he stood he stood on business. He was like, no, I got it, and you're gonna be crying tomorrow. But then he ended up the one crying tomorrow. Like,
so this is just a glimpse of the finish.
One, I'm really impressed with Livin's takedown defense. He defended quite a few and was like doing 85-90% right. Billy was doing 100% right to keep him down and continue to get him to the ground. But I was just impressed with Livin's ability to defend because Billy looked relentless with the takedowns. And the fact that Livin's got up a couple times, honestly, surprised me.
Man, I did not expect his ability to get up to be that smooth. I thought once Billy put him on the mat, he'd be like a turtle on its back. But he did a really, really good job. He had a really close Kimura, too. Billy's hand came out, but Billy is an absolute machine. And he stepped over and went for that reverse Kimura pull. But once he was on top, dude, that man's like paint.
Yeah, Billy had a few getting that Kimura out. He had a few moments of concern where you could tell, like, damn, this got to be locked in because Billy looks like a big boy. He looks like a big, strong dude.
Yeah, Livin's no small guy himself. But not to be a dick. I'm telling you, coaching for over 18 years, like worldwide professionally, I've never dealt with an opponent that was as rude as Livin. I was stunned. Yeah.
It says a lot whenever his coach comments and says, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's a bad look.
But yeah, I mean, like we said, like maybe you did walk on unsuspectingly, just whatever. But whenever you hear most people saying things about your shoes, like, did you wear? We were giving away free socks that day. Like, did your socks accidentally have a hole in it and you just didn't want to get clowned? I don't know, but that was an odd moment for me, and I'm sure I'm gonna have to hear about it. I go to the gym tomorrow. I'm sure Livens will be there.
So we touched on, I think, all the fights that had finishes. We touched on the crazy bite. We talked about the decisions. Was there anything, any other fight anybody had comments on?
Man, I didn't get to watch it from the booth, but Septimus Brown and Leonardo
Yes.
Leon
Oh, yeah.
was bonkers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing. Leo, again, the body work, and Septimus able to withstand all of it. It was just it was a dope fight to see unfold. You know, I really didn't think Fort Lauderdale was gonna put on a show. When we left Orlando, I felt like Orlando, that show was just so incredible, and that Fort Lauderdale was gonna kind of be a letdown. Um, you guys also know we had a bunch of pullouts and last minutes, and like that's another thing. A credit to a lot of these guys who stepped up really last minute to fight, because they put on some wars, some good fights. It's not like any of these guys who stepped up last minute just got their ass handed to them. They put on some really good fights. So I was impressed overall with the whole card. But yeah, Leo Leon, that fight was impressive. Very impressive. I wish he would have stopped going for takedowns. I was like, oh, what are you doing?
I think he was getting tired.
I think
He
it was in
throws
the
huge.
Wrestling's way more tiring than throwing punches.
Yeah, but you get to like hold on and catch your breath for a second. Because like remember, we're not dealing with D1 where we're talking shoot, clutch, cut, finish.
Yeah.
We're talking about, jiu-jitsu, MMA guy, kickboxing, wrestling, where you're like, okay, I got here.
Yeah.
Whew, like, what are we doing?
I was trying to remember if it was that Septimus versus Leo fight where at one point I want to say it was Septimus was on the ground and punches were being thrown at him and he was weaving them while he was on the
No, that
ground.
was Richard
That was
Reeves.
Reich.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and Avery Muchler.
Second
That was
round.
crazy. That was
That was like four
point
punches or something that he dodged. That was crazy.
That's
a
going to
dog
be a
fight.
real sometime.
Yeah.
All right, gents.
Hold on. Baptiste. Jawkins Baptiste. I got in there halfway through his fight, but he looked so sharp. Every time Brazarola exploded in, went for the blitz, he was underneath. He was in on hips.
timing.
He was flaring legs. And from what I understand, talking to one of his coaches, Kenley St. Louis, he's a striker. So this is like newly found skill set, and he's like using it in a very nice way.
Yeah, he looked very good too. He stepped up short notice as well.
Man, props to all these short notice guys. They've really been showing up and showing out. I talk to my guys about consistency in their training because the biggest opportunities are not going to happen with a full camp.
Yep.
We do the best we can to get in an amateur and a local, like 4 to 6 weeks is ideal. But I don't think in my entire career, one fight I had more than 3 weeks notice. So if you're not in shape, you're gonna miss the bus on a lot of really cool opportunities.
Even on the highest level, you see that some of the guys that have had like explosive, turnarounds in their career have come on fights that they weren't necessarily scheduled to take more than, a week or two out, and it can be, totally career altering. And they have that reputation of like they'll fight anybody, anytime.
Man, 2 huge names in this moment, that I am very blank on late on this Sunday evening. But he's the cleft palate. He started everyone saying Smish.
Oh, Rojas.
No.
Kamzat.
He says Chihuahua.
Oh, Kamzat.
Yeah, Kamzat. Didn't he fight like 5 guys in 8 weeks or something when he first got in?
Yeah, he was very active.
Yeah. And then Trailblazer from Houston.
Kevin Holland. Yeah, he was.
He did the same thing.
Yeah, he didn't even win a contract on a contender series. He just was like a last minute. Dana White called him and he stepped up. Like
he fought twice in 2 weeks in the UFC.
Yeah.
And I think he won both of them. That's insane.
What's crazy
but when you stay fit.
Yeah, what's crazy to me is that you'll have guys that will never take a short notice fight their whole amateur pro career, and their first short notice fight is in the UFC. It's like, bruh, shouldn't you Try that once or twice as an amateur, or try that once or twice as a pro, low level pro. Like the right fight pops up, you take it. I've seen guys that get the right fight opportunity, and I know, at the end of the day, I'm a promoter, but I'm a fighter, and I've been in the sport for so long. A lot of fights I can look at them and tell who I think's gonna win. And sometimes these guys get really money matchups late notice, and they're like, "Oh, I don't feel comfortable taking a short notice fight." I'm like, "You got 3 weeks. You're in shape. What do you mean? Like you're healthy. Like, take that jump. If you can't beat this guy that you're clearly a good matchup for on short notice, then maybe you're just not the guy you think you are."
And just having the ability to stay fit
Yeah.
all the time shows your commitment to your craft. I tell my guys, like, based on your fight weight, like when it comes time to cut, I want you 7% heavy. In camp, I'd like to see you around 10% over, and out of camp, I'd like to see you no heavier than 15% over your fight weight. It's typically a 10 to 20 pound range depending on your weight class. It's not even an unreasonable request. 20 pounds is a lot, So if you can maintain, a 12 to 15 pounds over your weight class on a pretty regular, just being close to it, you can take advantage of these massive opportunities as they pop up.
I'll say something Phil Rowe always says. There's no reason someone who is aspiring to be a professional athlete or that is a professional athlete should take off their shirt and not look fit. Just not a thing. Like it don't matter. It's, even these 300-pound linemen that are in the NFL, they still look like an athlete. Like you can't deny, as big as they are, they still look like an athlete. And some of these guys in MMA, Jamal Hill being one, I couldn't believe how grossly out of shape he let himself get during his injury, and then jump right back into a fight with Alex Pereira. It's like, bro, you're going against a guy who's fought 5 times in the past year, and you've been eating fucking hot dogs and corn dogs for the past year, nursing your injury.
That sounds like hate for hot dogs, man.
I mean, I'm not hating. If you're a professional athlete, you shouldn't be eating hot dogs. I said
That's true.
And very famously, Patty the Batty balloons up after his fights.
Dude, that's going to take years off his career.
For sure. Your liver, your kidney, your body that ain't good for your body. So, I mean, hand in the air. Like, I did that when I was fighting. And I really do think if I had just been more disciplined and make more sacrifices when it came to my diet, that was my biggest crux, is just eating like shit and letting myself get big and being stupid about it.
Is that something that's just changed in the sport? Because it seems like, 10 years ago, guys did that regularly, where it's just like, it's still a thing.
They still do it. Very
but there's also less fights, maybe 10, 15 years ago, there's less fights. So you'd have 6 months between opportunities, at least in my generation.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't even get a call.
Bro, when I was coming up, there was like one pro show, RFC, that was regularly doing events. There was AFL or AFC would jump up every now and then and do a show down in South Florida. CFA popped up for a little bit. HOF popped up for a little bit. But like the only regular show that was doing like 3 a year was RFC. And they put on 6 or 7 fights. I mean, even what we're doing now, if you go and look at these other fight cards, I don't care what fight cards you're looking at, LFA, Fury, CFFC, any other regional show, they're doing 7 or 8 pro fights. Like there aren't many that are doing 12 like us. There aren't many that are putting as many pro fights on an event as you can. Very, very, yeah. And back then it was even worse. There was hardly any fights. A Fight Time.
Yeah, it was a big
deal. Fight Time there loved too. Fight Time was out there.
Yeah, nobody does it quite like Combat Night.
Nah, they don't. And that's why there's no excuse for these young guys not to be ready, because maybe if Combat Night is not, you miss this one, and some guys like, oh, I'll just wait till the next one. No, stay in shape and be ready. There's no reason why, and sometimes it's frustrating. I guess that's why I'm like, the OG in the gym is like, oh man, Santa man, when you were fighting, man, was it like this or like that? I'm just like, hey man, just make sure that you, like, a lot of these guys are fighting at 25. I didn't even start training until I was 25. So a lot of these guys, if you're under the age of 25, you have no kids, no wife, you work for Amazon or you work for UPS, or you're a bar back, whatever. Get it how you live, but there's really no reason you work your 8-10 hour shift. You should be at the gym. Our gym is open 6 days a week for the fighters. Really 7 days a week. There's always somebody there at the gym or to have access to the gym. There's no reason why you shouldn't be there at least 5 days of the week, whether it's 1 hour or 3 hours. You should be at the gym, treated like a part-time job, minimum 20 hours, 15, 20 hours, a week. There's no reason why, well, I want to take time off or this or that. Like, just come in, take one class, come in, take two classes. But you should be just in that constant mindset, that framework of just training and just, getting better.
Yo, I'll straight up say it. I'll straight up say it. And it's partly our fault at combat night. But this generation, the majority, now I ain't talking about everybody, so if you get offended when I say this, you're probably just part of the majority. But you're soft. They're soft. They just are. When I was doing this, again, like Miles, I started after the age of 25. I was in college full time, taking 12 to 16 credit hours. I had a full time fucking job. I was a cheerleader on FSU's cheerleading team, so I had the college practices with these fools. I had mandatory weightlifting, all that shit, and I still was in the gym every day for 2 to 3 hours. Still in the gym every day for 2 to 3 hours. So it's like,
Man,
you ain't got no kids, you ain't got no real bills, you ain't
Yeah,
got
no.
nothing. But now
Like,
they
it's
would
just you
rather
and
go
your
out,
roommate splitting everything down the middle. You don't got to worry about
and
changing
drink
diapers and none of that. Like,
and party on the weekends and skip out because of a friend's birthday or whatever the case is. But yeah, man, there's a few guys that really do take advantage of this, and you see them excel and like they're doing well. There's a bunch. I know a bunch of guys that are coming up right now that I watch their work ethic and what they're doing, and it shows. So I mean, those people like the Corey Taylors, the Christian Colhanes, these Jeremy Williams, who are really putting everything in this basket. Like, that's the only way you can be successful nowadays in MMA. If you don't put everything in the basket and you're not fully committed to it, sure, there's some people that are super talented and super gifted that'll get by. There's always exceptions to the rule, but the majority of people, they don't have the discipline and the sacrifices to really make it.
yeah, it's not just showing up to spar. You got to take jujitsu classes. You got to take, and a lot of times me working not only a daytime job, but then at the gym at night too. You'll be surprised how many phone calls I get or people just walk and be like, "I want to take MMA class." Well, no, here's a package. You got to do jujitsu and you got to do kickboxing. You can't. We don't just offer just here. Come in and just take
Yeah,
MMA. It doesn't work like that.
yeah. Come in with a D1 pedigree. Come in with a purple belt. Come in with something, but you ain't gonna just fix it to come in here and lump up our people because you elbows are flying and you're whatever. But if you don't have the discipline to just learn jujitsu by itself and the discipline to learn kickboxing by itself, then you don't get the privilege to do MMA.
Yeah, our MMA classes are invite only. We offer a couple of weeks and
yeah.
they're invite only. Like,
I got a question that's probably best answered by you, Mitchell.
I won't say never ever, ever ever, but it's probably. I mean, I want to do it. I just need to find the right venue down there. Um, and man, I'm gonna be real honest. Like, the South Florida fighters are the least loyal of them all. Like, it's hard to commit and do a show down there whenever there's multiple other events happening, and guys are very quick to be like, oh, I'll fight next month. Like, a lot of our pullouts that we had were like, oh, I twisted my ankle, I'll just fight next month. Or, hey, can you just rebook this fight for next week or for your Jacksonville card? And it's like, nah.
no.
So, like, no offense to South Florida, but I stopped doing pro. I used to do pro shows down there. We did quite a few pro shows down there, but whenever Combate, Eagle FC, Titan FC, and all these people are running shows down there. It's hard to compete with guys that are willing to throw out, paychecks that are like 2,000 and 2,000. Um, and unfortunately, a lot of the fighters just look at the money and not the opportunity. So it just didn't make sense for us to do shows, and we've gotten a really good groove everywhere else with these shows. So I won't say never, but it's probably unlikely. We might do one next year. Who knows? We might throw it out there. We'll just have to see. I do like the fact that Titans pretty much shut down.
But yeah, I'm
Combate
about
is
to say,
pretty
if you
much,
look at it, those promotions aren't really as active anymore. So Combat I could swoop in and be like, hey,
yeah.
it is what it is if you want to fight
Well,
pro.
it's because they do what a lot of promotions do. They think throwing money at something makes it good. They think throwing money at something makes it work. And it's just like, money is cool, but money doesn't make the machine run and doesn't get you the right way. I won't say which promotion, but I watched a promotion sell out completely to like teams and just let themselves be bought out and put on the worst horrible fights I've ever seen in my life because they were getting paid to do so, or they weren't having to pay for the fight and these things. And it's like, fuck that. My brand and fucking my name is more important. Much less talk about the whole team's name, the whole brand as a whole, the company. Like that's way more important than making a couple extra bucks. Like so that's why going to a long-winded response. That is why we quit South Florida initially, but they're all gone now because money doesn't fix it. So we'll probably be back one day.
Yeah, that was something that we were kind of talking about last night a little bit, just as far as how many promotions there were down there that are kind of fly by night. They pop up. Some of them I got a little cash behind them so they can run a couple of shows. But, we're in it for the long game and doing it 12 years, 15, 20 shows a year. And you got to have good business and do good business if you want to have that longevity.
Yep.
All right, gents. Any other scraps from last night you guys want to talk about, or we can wrap this post-event up?
And call it a night. I'm ready for Jacksonville, to be honest with you. I'm shoosh, 2
Looking forward
weeks.
to that.
Feels like
Man,
it feels
I'm
like it was
bummed I'm
forever.
gonna miss it. That card is looking fresh.
Yeah, you got Kat Nelson fighting a girl from I think Mackenzie Dern's camp, black belt. That's a big fight. We got a lot of big fights on that card. We got Keith Speed and Cedric Lassant. We got the veteran versus the guy trying to come up and prove that he's a prospect after losing. Yeah, I'm ready for that card.
That fight's gonna
Heck
be
yeah.
really solid.
All right, guys. Well, for all of you guys that tuned in, thanks. And for all of y'all watching after the fact, you can expect to see us doing pre-event and post-event conversations with Combat Crew and some of the folks involved. These are going to be hitting at 9:15 on Friday night and 9:15 on Sunday night. And we're going to try and hit them like clockwork. Oh, no, sorry. I looked at the comments. They threw me off. And make sure you're following us on all of our socials. There's tons of stuff on our Instagram and on our YouTube right now. Highlights from last night's event and so much more. So check us out on all of our platforms. And we look forward to bringing you, some studio content as well, where we bring some folks in and have some cool conversations. So keep tuning in, and we appreciate you checking us out. So for all of us here at Combat Night, we'll see you next time.
Peace.